Good morning, everyone. After reading this book about the Translanguaging classroom, leveraging student bilingualism for learning, authored by Ophelia Garcia, Susana Ibarra Johnson, and Kate Selcher, I learned how can teachers use translanguaging to support students as they engage with and comprehend complex content and text. How can teachers use translanguaging to provide opportunities for students to develop linguistic practices for academic contexts? How can teachers use translanguaging to make space for students, bilingualism, and ways of knowing? How can teachers use translanguaging to support students' socio-emotional development and bilingual identities? Can I move to next slide? So according to this book that I read, we as teachers are using translanguaging pedagogical strategies to help students make meaning of complex context and text. The author uses Justine as an example. Here, there were language groups discussing ideas and negotiate new math through their home languages and English. They also use internet research, reading, and writing. Translanguaging pedagogical helps students engage and make sense of complex content text by providing more points of entry and more opportunities for students to be active participants in their own learning. Now teachers can support these students through some pedagogical strategies. These concepts are such that they would include the following. Teach students to use internet to build background on a topic with using their both languages. We should use the internet as a tool to teach. The internet has a lot of information in both languages. Students can find the desired information in either language plus additional ideas. Assign bilingual partners that share the same home language for mutual support and discussion. Encourage students to annotate texts they are reading with translations of vocabulary and other important textual informations, including interesting structures and phrases. Encourage to use resources such as dictionaries, glossaries, and iPads with translation apps to make meaning. Provide multilingual books, translations of books, and materials whenever possible. Encourage the students to read the room, to find phrases, sentence starters, etc. that are important for their writing. Create multilingual listening center that is composed of fiction and nonfiction texts, narratives of community members, and books recorded by students or families. Allow students to explain things to each other using all their language resources. How can teachers use translanguaging? Can I move this one here? How can teachers use translanguaging to provide opportunities for students to develop linguistic practices for academic contexts? All students must be taught the kind of language practices that are associated with academic contexts. This means taking what students are already doing with language and expanding their repertoires to include new features and practices. The following are several pedagogical strategies that can be used to develop students' linguistic practices for academic contexts. Allow students to audio record ideas using all their language resources before writing. Allow students to pre-write using all their language resources, then select one language, voice in which to publish it. Provide students with opportunities to write translations to portion of a text. Assign language partners in class who share home languages and differentiate language objectives. Group students so they can use the same home language resources on collaborative work. Allow pairs to turn and talk using all their language resources. Allow students to raise questions, answer them, and participate in class discussion using the full features of their linguistic repertoires. Have students compare and contrast specific language features across languages to help them develop greater meta-linguistic awareness. So in this part, how can teachers make space for students' bilingualism and ways of knowing? Students can use their bilingualism and ways of knowing to think critically about content. We teachers must provide opportunities for students to engage the features of their linguistic repertoires. So let's go to our slide number 7. Encourage students in language inquiry tasks, comparing and contrasting different features of spoken language and coming up with word plays. So let's be on our slide number 8. How can teachers support students' socio-emotional development and bilingual identities? Support students socio-emotionally and honors their bilingual identities. As teachers, we enact this purpose at every stage of the translanguaging design cycle. Enable students to use their bilingualism in ways that are meaningful to them. The following are translanguaging pedagogical strategies that address this important purpose. Discuss what would happen in a story if the characters were bilingual. Invite family and community members into the classroom to enrich instruction. Provide students with texts that highlight 2 or more ideas of a complex issue, especially those issues that relate directly to their lives. Extend research projects and other culminating designs out of the classroom and into the community. Engage students in bilingual writing assignments that have a social justice focus, such as letter writing, blogging, or newspaper article writing. Choose topics and texts in multiple languages that give voice to groups that are commonly silenced or left out of the traditional curriculum. And the last, assess general linguistic performance as well as language-specific performance while encouraging students to leverage their entire language repertoire. I hope this video will help for other students who are interested to learn about this topic. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice one.